Okay, this is part two of our report for this week, and we're going to continue uh, in the aspect of looking at the Jesuits real quick and the Knights of Malta, so we can really get a grasp again to realize to see where the power structure is, a true power structure that controls the banking elite that a lot of alternative media people like to claim is the top of the pyramid, if you will, and these types of things. But again, that is not true. You got to go beyond the banking elite, and when you go beyond that, then you're in the realm of these orders like Malta, the Jesuit order, the papacy, the Vatican, the Roman, these types of things. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is play you a video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to play a part of it on something that happened recently. And this is a video from Forerunner Chronicles, and he explains what happened in regards to Obama hiring a Jesuit for the sake of promoting their doctrine of religious freedom. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this right now.
Right, everybody. So, do you know who this man is? Now, I'm just guessing that the greater majority of you out there don't even have a clue who this man is. However, there's something that happened recently involving him which now makes it imperative that you do know who he is. You see, by many, he's known as quote-unquote Father Thomas J. Reese. And I say quote-unquote because the Bible does say, call no man father. Nonetheless, Thomas Reese, in the year 1962, entered into the quote-unquote Society of Jesus, which is better known as the Jesuit Order. And in the year 1974, he was officially ordained as a Jesuit priest of the Roman Catholic Church. Then, from 1978 all the way through 2005, he worked in various positions of prominence in a known Catholic publication called America. And currently, he is acting as the senior analyst for the National Catholic Reporter. Now, I'm giving you this rundown on him to let you know that he is an individual of importance within the Catholic community, and he's done a lot of work for them within and without the walls of the Vatican, even up until today. But now he's taken on a new role, a role that was appointed unto him by President Obama himself. Because recently, President Obama appointed Father Thomas J. Reese to be a part of the commission, the United States of America federally funded Commission of International Religious Freedom, a commission that's supposed to deal with issues of violations of religious freedom and also to develop policy on religious freedom to give to the President, the Secretary of State, and to Congress. Now listen to what I just said. A Jesuit priest working on religious freedom. That's like saying, I'm going to hire a den of lions to be advocates for veganism. Anyway, if you don't believe my words, here's an article expressing the facts that I've just shared with you and some more details above and beyond that. Take a look. On June 11th, this news detail was released on the official Jesuit website entitled President Obama Appoints Jesuit Father Thomas Reese to Commission on International Religious Freedom. The article states that President Obama has named Jesuit Father Thomas J. Reese as the newest member of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, which serves as an advisory panel to the federal government on protecting religious freedom abroad. Father Reese joins three fellow Catholics on the commission: Chairman Robert P. George, a bioethicist and Princeton University professor; James Zogby, the founder and president of the Arab American Institute; and Mary Ann Glendon, a Harvard University law professor and former U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to consider this. For a president of the United States of America, a nation which came into existence as a result of the Protestant Reformation, a movement which the Roman Catholic Church not only fought against with their pen, but they adopted the order of the Jesuit priests solely for the purpose of seeking to silence the voices of those that were united in protesting against the non-biblical practices of the papacy. And the Jesuit order sought to break the neck of the Protestant Reformation by more than one means. The Jesuit order was responsible for setting up centers of learning like universities and colleges in which they sought to enroll Protestant children and thereby re-educate them within this system to make them be more subservient and submissive to the teachings of the Pope. And when that did not work, the Jesuit order used the engine of the office of the Inquisition to persecute Protestants even unto the death, a people that were simply seeking to hold on to their religious liberty, their religious freedom, their freedom of conscience, which they've received, which all men have received by birthright from God. For a president of this nation with this type of history to turn to the Vatican and to grab a Jesuit priest to tap him on the shoulder to be a champion for religious liberty, ladies and gentlemen, that's so backwards it's almost laughable.
Okay, well, there you have that. And again, you know, and the rest of the video will be posted in the links below. You can go and watch it watch the rest of it for yourself. But these things seem so unreal, but yet it's the truth. You know, I mean, these are all dealing in facts, okay, and we have to come to terms with that. So let's go ahead and continue. And we're going to go and look at the Oath of Malta. Okay, the Oath of the Knights of Malta is roughly very much similar than Knights of Malta and Rhodes Scholar is based upon the Oath of the Jesuits. It's basically roughly similar. There are a little few different ideologies here that we have to be made aware of, but but it's pretty much the same thing. And I'm going to go and read this oath right now. Okay, this is the Oath of the Order of Malta. This is a military order, as I just stated previously. I ... now in the presence of Almighty God, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Blessed Saint John Baptist, Holy Apostles, Saint Peter and Saint Paul, and all the saints, sacred host of heaven, and to you, my ghostly father, the Superior General. So, right there. The Knights of Malta, the ghostly father, is the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, rounded by Saint Ignatius Loyola and the pontification of Paul III, and continue to the present, due by the womb at the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice-regent and is the true and only head of the Catholic or universal church throughout the earth, and that by virtue of the keys of binding and loosing given His Holiness by my Savior Jesus Christ, He hath power to depose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealth, and governments, and they may be safely destroyed. Therefore, to the utmost of Ray power, I will defend this doctrine and His Holiness's right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority, whatever, especially the Lutheran Church of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, which has already been done, basically. And now the pretended authority and churches of England and Scotland, that's been done too, and the branches of same now established in Ireland and on the continent of America and elsewhere, which is already being done, and all adherents in regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother Church of Rome. Okay, so right there on that first sentence alone, we see that under this oath, the Knights of Malta realize that their ghostly father is the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuit Order. Okay? Alright. Let's go ahead and continue. It goes on to state, I do now denounce and disown any allegiance as due to any heretical king, prince, or state named Protestant or liberals, or obedience to any of their laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare that the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland, of the Calvinists, Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestants or Masons to be damnable. Okay, so all you people that are exposing certain denominations or whatever and these types of things, whether you be a Calvinist or a Baptist or whatever, it doesn't matter to them because you're in a sect of Protestant, and if you're in a sect of Protestant, you will be destroyed. Period. Okay? And they themselves to be damned who will not forsake the same. I do further declare that I will help, assist, and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents in any place where I should be, in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Ireland, or America, or in any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or Masonic doctrines and to destroy all their pretended powers, legal or otherwise. So, does the Knight of Malta hold control over or Freemasonry as well? You got it. I do further promise and declare that notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the Mother Church's interest, to keep secret and private all her agents' counsels from time to time, as they entrust me, and not divulge directly or indirectly by word, writing, or circumstances whatever, but to execute all that should be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of this sacred order. Now, speaking of Masonic or Masonry, that includes the B'nai B'rith Masonry. Okay, a lot of Masons, 33-degree Masons, and these types of things are, guess what? Yeah, they're Jewish. Okay, Masonic Jews, if you will. You know, the same ones that have part and partial control of the banks and these types of things, and Wall Street, the ones that, you know, the money handlers and these things, you know, and these types of things. Well, guess who is above them, and guess who is targeted, who, you know, and guess who targets them as well. So guess who is above these people, including Rothschild, you know, guess who's above this Zionist movement, you know, and these types of things. Knights of Malta, Jesuits. Okay, because a lot of the whole aspect that you hear of rebuilding the temple comes from Jewish, Masonic, Kabbalistic teaching, to where a lot of people like to claim, oh, this is just a Jewish conspiracy, worldwide Jewish conspiracy, and that's at the top of the pyramid too. Nope, that's wrong. That is wrong as well. This oath states that they will destroy anything that is underneath them that goes against their obligations, including Jewish Masonry, even the 33rd degree Masonry, and these types of things. Okay, I mean, regardless if they're Luciferian or not, it doesn't matter. Because the jobs of these orders, the Knights of Malta, the Jesuits, are to restore the temporal power to the Pope. That's their only goal, and that is what their aim is. They don't care who stands in their way. They don't care about any of them. Any of them. We're going to go further down and read this last paragraph here. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents. Now pay attention, because we're going to be getting into a lot of war here. A lot of war that's going on. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war, secretly and openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and Masons, as I am directed to do, to extirpate them from the face of the whole earth. And I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the whales, in order to annihilate their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup. You hear a lot about reporters and these types of things getting poisoned. Breitbart's one of them. The strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed so to do by any agents of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Father of the Society of Jesus. The Jesuit, the Jesuit Oath is roughly says the same thing in that regard. In confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, soul, and all corporal power, and with a dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my blood in testimony thereof, and should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and feet and my throat from ear to ear, my belly open, and sulphur burned therein with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and my soul shall be tortured by demons in eternal hellfire forever. Okay. Very strange group indeed, but this is the oaths that they take. Now, we're going to go to the Jesuit Oath, the commanding order that is over the Knights of Malta. I'm just going to read one little paragraph from from this oath. Okay. Now, my son, heretofore you have been taught to act the dissembler. This is when the superior speaks. Among Roman Catholics, to be a Roman Catholic, and to be a spy, even among your own brethren, to believe no man, to trust no man. Among the Reformers, to be a Reformer. Among the Huguenots, to be a Huguenot. Among the Calvinists, to be a Calvinist. Among other Protestants, generally to be a Protestant, and obtaining their confidence, to seek even to preach from their pulpits, and to denounce with all the vehemence in your nature our holy religion and the Pope, and even to descend so low as to become a Jew among Jews, that you might be enabled to gather together all information for the benefit of your order as a faithful soldier of the Pope. Okay. So I cannot stress this enough, that what you got going over there in these countries, when you look at the political sphere and these types of things, you are given on the outside a false illusion, an open but false policy. Okay, you're given the illusion that people like Benjamin Netanyahu is good because he might say in certain press releases that he has Bible studies with his children, or these types of things. He has family Bible studies, or he acknowledges who Jesus is, or whatever. You're given this false illusion. But folks, behind the scenes, you should know that they don't serve the benefit of the people. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this real quick. Knights of Malta. Membership list. This is off of Vatican New World Order.blogspot.com. The owner of this website is Alan Lamont, who really controls the New World Order. It's very well documented. The membership list is posted below, but first read a few. Here are two dictators, Hitler and Obama. And here are some facts about the Knights of Malta and some of the ways they are impacting the United States, yesterday, today, and forever. Also notice the big names of the court Jews for the Vatican who kissed the papal ring. Okay. Knights of Malta, Kissinger, Soros, and what have you. Knights of Malta facts. The Knights of Malta are the militia of the Pope and are sworn to total obedience by blood oath, which is taken extremely seriously and to the death. The Pope, as the head of the Vatican, is also the head of a foreign national power. As a member of the Knights of Malta, and by virtue of your blood oath of obedience to the Pope, you are required to support to the death the desires of the head of the Order of the Knights of Malta, in this case, Pope Benedict XVI, or, well, now it's Pope Francis, over and above any other allegiance you may feel or pretend to feel toward any other loyalty, such as a loyalty to the Constitution for the United States of America. Those who are presently members of the Knights of Malta must, on penalty of death, support these policies advocated by the Vatican. It is not hard for them to do this. They believe in these policies and principles. The policies which are espoused and proclaimed by the office of the Pope are as follows. So even though you got guys like Alex Jones who says, "Oh, I'm for the Constitution and these types of things," well, again, you have to ask yourself, which Constitution is he for? Is he for the ratified Constitution or the organic Constitution? Those are things you have to ask yourself too. There's little questions you have to ask in that regard too. Anyways, the policies which are espoused and proclaimed by the office of the Pope are as follows. Number 1, end of sovereignty for the United States and other countries. End of absolute property rights. End of all gun rights. The new international economic order, world government. The redistribution of wealth and jobs. Calls for nations to trust the United Nations. Total disarmament. promote the United Nations as the hope for peace, promote UNESCO, the deadly educational and cultural arm of the United Nations, promote interdependence, support sanctions honoring Father Piero Teilhard de Chardin, the New Age humanist priest, who basically, I think he was also one of the founders of Opus Dei. Support the belief that the economic principle of traditional Christian or Catholic social doctrine is the economic principle of communism. Promote the Pope as the acting go-between for the United States and the Soviet Union. Well, we're going to get into the Soviet Union here. So who really controls the United States of America? Most current obedient puppets in high places. Zbigniew Brzezinski, member, Knight of Malta, Bilderberg Group, CFR, Trilateral Commission, advisor of the Jesuit Georgetown University. You have George Soros. Oh, geez. You have Joseph Biden, Barry Davis, Obama, sitting president of the United States, 32nd degree Prince Hall Freemasonry, Freemason, president of Rome's Holy Roman Army, 14th Amendment American Empire, Sunni Muslim, pretended Protestant Christian, Father Frank Marshall Davis Jr., Michelle, member, Chicago CFR. So, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Obama, trained in Romanism, Islam, and apostate Protestantism, pretended unifier of whites and blacks, promoter of the Papal Crusade against Shia Islam, promoter of Bush's Papal Inquisition, against Protestant American liberties, Jesuit tempora coadjutor, promoter of the Black Pope's Counter-Reformation, Barry Davis, boy of Pope Benedict XVI. So, and you got other Knights of Malta membership, George W. Anderson, James Jesus Angleton, Nicholas Brady, Joseph Brennan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Prescott Bush, Frank Capra, Frank Charles Carlucci III, William Casey, Michael Chertoff, Gustavo Cisnero, Bill Clinton, Terrence Cook, Bill Donovan, we went over him, John Farrell, Raymond Flynn, Rudy Giuliani. It goes on and 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 on. So hopefully you get my point, okay? You cannot trust any of these folks, including folks like Ron Paul. Sure, you can glean information from what he says, but don't yoke yourself up with these people. None of them. So, now that we have established this, now that we established the fact that there's a total controlled grid that is operated through the Knights of Malta and all these Knights of Royalty and these types of things, to the crown and everything, which is subservient to the Jesuit order, which is basically at the helm of everything in secret. And then obviously you have the open but false prophecy of the White Pope that is basically promoting the open portion of what is being talked about in secret. Okay? Again, they speak lies at one table. So now we're going to go into the Ukraine-Russia crisis in regards to the Malaysian plane, what guys like John McCain has said, and these types of things. And then we're going to segue into the Israel-Palestinian conflict briefly, and then we're going to go into ISIS, and then we're going to basically conclude with that, with a couple of scriptures and how I see what I saw personally in a dream that I had just recently of how this thing could play out. Basically, in culmination, this is going to be basically a World War III type scenario. And yes, I will go over the World War III quote as well. So, let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so as everybody knows, there's plenty of, you got a lot of these puppets in high places basically will use the phrase, hey, can't let a good crisis go to waste, right? Well, obviously, in from July 17, 2014, you had an incident happen. A Malaysian Airlines plane was brought down, or crashes in Ukraine. CBS reported that it crashed. You had other mainstream proponents saying it was hit by a surface-to-air missile, and you have Malaysia Airlines plane brought down by missile in Ukraine. Now, I had a feeling, as much as a lot of other people were saying, since this is coming out of mainstream media, American media, that they were going to try and put the blame and point the finger at Russia. And sure enough, most assuredly, that's exactly what's going on. All right? They're pointing the blame at Russia. They want to set something up to where they can start a war with them, basically, or whatever. You know, another proxy war, another Cold War scenario, but it might be even more severe than that. I don't know. And then here you have this. Obama administration builds case against Russia at United Nations. Ambassador Power says separatists undermining democratic Ukraine. Let's go ahead. I'll read you this caption here. Obama's United Nations ambassador Samantha Power spelled out the United States position on the downing of Malaysia's Airlines Flight 17. It was an evil act perpetuated by separatists in Ukraine and their enablers, the Russians. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this video. Again, I don't support Alex Jones or anything like that. I go to his site from time to time for information, see what I can glean from. But here's the video.
Yesterday, we were all shocked by the downing of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. All 298 people aboard, 283 passengers and 15 crew were killed. As we stared at the passenger lists yesterday, we saw next to 3 of the passengers' names a capital I. As we now know, the letter I stands for infant. To the families and friends of the victims, it is impossible to find words to express our condolences. We can only tell you that we will not rest until we find out what happened.
Doesn't it sound eerily similar to the whole aspect of 9/11? It's the same rhetoric over and over and over again, folks. They use the same stuff over and over again. And many people will still believe this nonsense, but obviously, and just as expected, here's John McCain. There's going to be hell to pay, and there should be. John McCain warns of incredible repercussion if Russian forces or pro-Russian separatists down MH17. Hawkish GOP senator threw down the gauntlet and warned Vladimir Putin. Russia's president called the idea of involvement by his government or its proxies stupidity. McCain suggested that separatist forces in eastern Ukraine may have mistaken the Boeing 777 jet for a Ukrainian government military plane. He also blasted President Barack Obama for what he said were anemic sanctions leveled at Putin following Russia's annexation of Crimea. Okay. So let's go ahead and hear Mr. McCain on his view on this whole situation.
It has the earmarks of a tragic mistake made by someone who had the capability to shoot down an aircraft, and we know, at least from the last couple of weeks, that could be Russian or separatist Russian capability. If that's true, this is really, really something that commands our attention to bring this kind of thing to a halt in Ukraine.
So there you have it. You have the whole aspect that they want a war, they need a war, and these types of things, and they want to be involved in it. Now, here we go. Russia's President Vladimir Putin talked to Russia's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev after word reached Moscow of the attacked aircraft. Wreckage firefighters contained blazes of the site of the crash near the town of Shektersk in rebel-held East Ukraine. So just because, you know, of where it was located and stuff, they're automatically pointing their finger at Russia. And what's very interesting is you have this video here. And this video here was basically doctored by Ukrainian rebels or Ukrainian armed forces or whatever, put out a video. And this video was basically proof that pro-Russian rebels had something to do. Sorry about that. Had something to do with the bringing down of this jet. Okay. So let me go ahead and restart this. And you're gonna, and well, I'm not gonna restart. I'll give you the link and you can play this video. But yeah, so just like the whole doctored Muslim video in regards to, remember that whole fiasco in regards to Benghazi, where there was a Muslim video, and the U.S. used that video to basically go in and save the day again because of these quote-unquote terrorists, or because there was this huge uprising with all these embassies being destroyed and ransacked because of a stupid Muhammad video that was released on YouTube. And there ain't no new thing under the sun. They're using the same tactic again, and they're using this video to point the finger at Russia for the responsibility of bringing down that Malaysian jet. So what do we have here? Well, this is another YouTuber, fellow researcher, Dabu7, and I'm going to play this video here in its entirety. And you can see, I mean, he's been doing some extensive work on this. I'm just going to go over the headlines of these videos. Nearly 2/3 of asylum requests by illegals have been immediately granted. And let's see. Alert, Obama bans Russian AK-47s with executive order. Now here, he put a video up explaining that the Kiev deployed 27 anti-aircraft launchers to East Ukraine ahead of the MH17 crash. Ahead of it. So that means after the crash, then those anti-aircraft launchers were put in place. Okay? Let's see. Oh, and rebel leader says plane crash bodies were not fresh. They reeked of decomposition. So they were already decomposing bodies. They weren't fresh bodies that were found. Now I'm going to go ahead and play this video here explaining how this YouTube video finger pointing at the Russians as the responsibility of bringing this Malaysian plane down. So hopefully you can get a clue that, again, your trusted mainstream media is, in a sense, lying to you again, and a lot of people still fall for it.
This is Dabu7, wanting to share with you here some surprising information. What looked to be the Ukraine releasing proof that the rebels shot down this plane over the Ukraine, this Malaysian flight MH17. It looked really good. But we got to thinking, hold on, the Ukraine's done this before. They have made fake news and put it out there. So I'm reading, listening to the story. It all sounds decent, you know. It's phone conversations that they had picked up between a supposed Russian general and some guys on the ground. And they're talking about this flight that they just shot down, a commercial flight. They're like, what was it doing over the Ukraine? The first problem with this is this, that the Ukraine has adamantly stated that this was on purpose. How did they get this information intercepted so quickly, and did it get cleared for somebody to put out on YouTube? Okay, instead of officially for the whole world to see. You see, that's the second big problem. Third big problem, and the biggest big problem, is this, and it's because they're sloppy. They've been burned. This was created before this plane was ever attacked. This is where it starts to get a little hairy, guys. Because whoever created this video and posted it, knew that this plane was going to get attacked. Since then, this has been removed, and I've got all the links. A lot of it's in Russian. You just have to translate it. And it doesn't mean that the Russians are behind it. Think tactically here, guys. The file has been deleted, but it was downloaded 810 times before they got to do so. But once you put something out on the internet, it's cached. It's out there. There's no removing it completely. The creation time on this file is right here for you to get your hands on. All the other information. And you can see right here that this video that they're trying to push as proof that the separatists, the rebels did this. This is supposed audio conversation. I'm telling you, you're going to come across this and see this because they're trying to use this as their evidence as this was them. It's got holes all over it, guys. Right out the gate. Holes all over it. And first and foremost, this was made before this plane was ever attacked. So whoever put this information out there and tried to remove it knew that this plane was going to get attacked. And they were trying to blame Russia. So, who do you think that is? I think you already know. And whatever agent, whatever person they put up to this task was sloppy, and the timestamp has burned them. And since then, if they didn't have nothing to hide, why delete the file then? Why go running? It's exactly what they did. It's too late. I'm going to leave links for all this stuff, but I just wanted to tell you guys, hey, the Ukraine is going out of its way, this puppet government in the Ukraine, not elected righteously by the people, is trying to state that Russia's behind it, and the rebels did so with Russian weaponry, and they're proving it through a YouTube clip that was made before this flight was ever struck. That's the facts. Starting to get interesting, guys. See how sloppy they really are. This has been Dabu 7. Eyes open.
There you have it. Okay, and again, the links there are posted below. You can go and research all these links, and you're going to see the information in that video that was that was uploaded the day before. The day before that plane crashed. Okay, so and so again, like I said, that just basically proves that they knew that this was going to happen. And this is the evidence that you got the U.S. government and the UN is using, a YouTube video, again, that was released the day before that this event took place. And they're framing Russia for it. Okay? So now you have that going on, and I can almost guarantee you that this could escalate into something huge. You have Obama, under executive order, bans Russian AK-47s here in America. Okay, that could be a pretext to further weapons bans or gun bans that could escalate. Not to mention you got the illegal immigration chaos going on right now. And also, we have this. The Palestinian or Hamas and Israeli conflict going on over there in Israel. Now, again, I went over at the beginning of this little news series that I'm going over that it is documented fact that Hamas was a creation basically of the U.S. and Israel, along with Hezbollah and these types of things, and Al-Qaeda and these types of things, okay? Now, and ever since, there has been these talks of peace, okay? Every time you had peace talks, including what happened with the Pope, okay, which was the biggie, because the Pope is the big enchilada here, okay? right after you had this whole peace prayer meeting and these types of things, then again you had this rocket firing into Israel and, airstrikes. Now you have the ground operation going on over there in Gaza. So basically this is what you have. You have Hamas were exchanging fire with IDF beyond enemy lines. Militant group says fighting is inside Israel, claims Israeli soldiers wounded in clashes. Okay, so now you have this going on. Not to mention, you have ISIS going on, destroying mosques and shrines in Iraq to pave way for new religion. Now, I have not been able to find the article, but I do remember reading something that, yeah, even though ISIS is primarily Sunni-type Muslim, okay, the Sunni branch, they don't care whether it's Sunni or Shiite. They are going to push their caliphate regardless, okay? Which means a Islamic State comprised of one whole faction of the Middle East. And yes, they do have their eyes set on Egypt and Israel and these types of things. Okay, now, ISIS declares caliphate in Iraq and Syria. Baghdadi announced as leader of Muslims everywhere. Iraq says new caliphate threatens all countries. Iraqi forces battle to retake Tikrit. And Israel calls for the creation of a separate Kurdish state. Okay, so we go further here. This is basically the reason where this Islamic State has right now. Okay, it's probably even more beyond that, but, eventually they want to go into Iran, they want to do Saudi Arabia, Jordan, they want to do everything here, and also they have their sights on Israel. Now, this is interesting because you got Syria here and you got Damascus, and you also have Bashar al-Assad, who just got reelected, so you got that situation going on right here. Isn't it funny that you have this whole physical aspect of the King of the North? And then you got the King of the South and these types of things. And, these are some very interesting times we live in. But here you have the map played out here where the Islamic State's claimed caliphate has started. And you got, the threat posed by the Islamic State. May 30th, 2014, an event occurred which experts are calling the most significant and disturbing in the history of jihad. The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, better known as ISIS, or ISIL, or simply IS, unveiled a map detailing their 5-year expansion plan, and at the same time declared the formation of the caliphate, the Islamic State, the Islamic political entity which Islamists all over the world have dreamed of ever since the first collapse in 1924, with the end of Abdulmajid II's the last caliph regime. Okay. Now, I'm going to go over this dream that I had, and I'm not saying it's from God or anything. This is just a dream, and it's weird because I rarely ever remember any dreams that I have. I just wake up and I go on about my day, and these types of things. But this one I do remember, okay, and it's this. And especially with everything I just went over, you got the Ukrainian and Russian conflict escalating. Now even more so with this whole Malaysian jet plane in the crash incident. How the U.S. is basically finger-pointing Russia for shooting it down with the anti-aircraft missile and these types of things. You got the Israeli-Palestinian or Hamas conflict going on. Now, considering the fact that Israel funded Hamas at the beginning, does not change the fact that they could be still very much funding them now behind the scenes. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because of the aspect that when you have a common enemy, usually you lay all preconceived notions aside and you go after that common enemy that presents a threat to the whole region or whatever. Okay? And this was basically the dream that I had. You got the Palestinian-Hamas conflict going on, back and forth, and that is going to continue until this Islamic State grows to the point where they finally have their sights set on Israel and the Gaza Strip. There's going to be this escalation, fighting continuing until they realize, hey, we have a common enemy in this ISIS, in this Islamic State, this caliphate, and then Israel and Palestine will be united in this front to go after them. Then you have the United States coming in, and then you have Russia coming in from the north, and these types of things, because the Russians are basically allied with Syria and Iran and these types of things, along with China. And then, obviously, throughout all of this, you have what is called World War III. So you're going to have all this chaos, and it's going to be it's going to be mind-blowing. And so many people are just going to want something to make this stop. Something to make this stop. Okay, and then here comes some political leader with this grand plan, for peace. And for a time, it's going to seem rather peaceful. But then it's not going to stay that way. Okay. So that's basically the aspect of my dream. That you got all of these cards being played right now. You got positions being set. You got the Russian-Ukraine crisis. You got the Palestinian-Israeli crisis. And you got ISIS. Not to mention the illegal immigration issue and all of this. Eventually this is all going to come to a head, and this is all going to mesh and meld together, and then out of that you're going to have a global conflict, because you see all of these massive nations basically doing this separately right now, but eventually it's going to come global, and it's going to be one huge frickin' melting pot. Alright, and that's basically what the essence of my dream was in these types of things. Now I'm going to close here in just a minute. I want to go over this scripture in Daniel 11:45. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Okay. The king of the north basically represents the mindset of the papacy, and how the papacy basically wants to plant the tabernacles or his churches or his whatever of his palaces between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. If you go to the ASV, you see this. And he shall plant the tent of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. The famous hallelujah scriptures that a lot of these Hebrew roots proponents like to use. Daniel 11:45. And he shall pitch the tents of his palaces between the seas and the splendid set-apart mountain, but shall come to his end with none to help him. The NIV. He will pitch his royal tents between the seas at the beautiful holy mountain, yet he will come to his end, and no one will help him. You go back to the KJV, I believe this is the right translation of it, in the glorious holy mountain. The glorious holy mountain is Mount Zion. That's heavenly Mount Zion, or heavenly Jerusalem that this is talking about. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. You also have the aspect of the kingdom of heaven is within you. We have no continuing city, and these types of things. So let's go ahead and look at this. A glorious holy mountain, or goodly, Hebrew, mountain of delight or holiness, of holiness. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, which he is already doing, because we are the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay, why do I say that? Well, the temple of God, or the house of God. 1 Peter 2:5. You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, and holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. Ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you. 1 Corinthians 3:16. 1 Corinthians 3:17, if any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. 1 Corinthians 6:19, what, know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? 1 Corinthians 8:10, for if any man see thee which has knowledge sit at meat in the idol's temple, Roman Catholic Church, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? There's two temples here on this earth. You have the idol's temple and you have the temple of God. And the man of sin is sitting in the midst of the temple of God. That a third temple could very well be built, but it will never be the temple of God, because you, the church, is the temple of God, period. And that temple of God has a place, has a home in the heavenly realm, New Jerusalem, that descends out of heaven. New Jerusalem is also referenced as Zion, the glorious holy mountain. The rock that comes and strikes the statue at its feet comes up, and what comes up after that is a mountain. Okay? So, when you look at the mindset of this, it is very clear that the phrase in is the correct translation. Not the Hallelujah Scriptures, not the NIV, not the ASV, but the KJV. Hebrews 12:22 through 24. But ye are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, not the earthly Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which is Jesus Christ. Israel is my son, even my firstborn, according to Exodus 14. And in Matthew, they take that passage and they transfer that to Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is that firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Folks, we have a lot of things going down. We have a lot of things happening. And yes, it does say, come out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her plagues. So what does that mean? That still means that even in, I will even suggest that even those people that are in lower rankings of the Jesuit order and these types of things could very well be ignorant. And I believe God has his people in every institution. And there are still people coming out of her. Okay? So when I expose this, bear in mind, don't let this affect you as an individual. I am exposing the system so that you, if you are locked up in this system, can be aware, so that you know what you have to do. You have to come out of her, my people. For come out among them, be ye separate, saith Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and he will receive you. Okay, so just because someone right now is a Roman Catholic or whatever, don't go bashing them individually. You expose the system for what it is. And hopefully I've clearly done that in these two videos. And, folks, again, things are not as what they seem. You can look at Jerusalem all you want over there. But, folks, God's not there. God is... You can reach God, you can talk to God right from where you're at. You don't have to go to some place, visit some sacred place. Especially a place that is actually called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So you got a lot of things happening. And just bear in mind that your kingdom, your city that you belong to, is not a Jerusalem on this earth. For we have no continuing city. Everything else that is being played out here on this earth today is a stage theater set up for something grander. Because Satan knows that he has but a short time. And he's going to use every ounce of deception to counterfeit every ounce of prophecy that he can, that God will allow him to do. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And also no marvel that his ministers can also be transformed into ministers of righteousness, and we have to be aware of that. Take care. God bless. Be not deceived. Thank you for watching. Truth be told, truth be known. Stay safe. God bless. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.